Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to the Audio Analyst. Pardon me. Today brings the second installment of the heavy rotation series that I first mentioned in episode 62. Today in volume 2, I'm going to cover a couple of records that have been standouts for me since their original releases. Both of today's releases have benefited from the superlative care and deserved attention they have received as relatively recent reissues. Now, first up is the 2001 Mobile Fidelity UltraDisc one-step remaster UD1S 2-007 as two 12-inch 45 RPM LPs released in a limited run of 7,000 of Stevie Ray Vaughan's 1984 milestone release, Couldn't Stand the Weather. This double 45 RPM remastered reissue is pressed on SuperVinyl, developed by Neotech and RTI. This more costly, painstaking to produce proprietary compound was created to both reduce the noise floor and to enhance groove wall definition. Now, featuring a new carbonless die, this formulation yields both an exceptionally quiet surface and is said to provide groove wall definition that is indistinguishable from the original lacquer. And as you can see from the insert here, it is virtually transparent. Guys, this LP reveals staggeringly good remastering at the hands of Krieg Wunderlich, assisted by Rob Loverde, done at the Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab facilities in Sebastopol, California, employing the Gain 2 Ultra Analog system of gear developed by a genius and a man I am proud to have known as a friend, the late Tim DePeravicini. Now, this highly anticipated and critically acclaimed sophomore release by Stevie Ray Vaughan and his band Double Trouble dropped to the delight of blues fans May 15th, 1984 on Epic Records, and features the even mix of originals and covers, every one of which is consummately delivered. Stevie and company really shine here, bringing their organic, classic Texas-style boogie blues to every cut. With Couldn't Stand the Weather, Stevie pleased the critics and his fans alike, confirming that his acclaimed debut, Texas Flood, from the year prior, was no fluke, and then topping the sales of that 1983 freshman outing. It sent a clear message to anyone who doubted that this cat was an unparalleled giant of modern blues. And his meteoric rise, starting with the success of Texas Flood, triggered a notable resurgence in the popularity of blues across the nation throughout the 1980s. Now, having moved to Austin's fertile music scene after dropping out of high school in 1972, diving into the club scene there, and picking up a lot of studio work, Stevie was soon joined by bassist Tommy Shannon and drummer Chris Layton, and the trio became known as Double Trouble in 1978. Now, side one of the UD1S release of Couldn't Stand the Weather begins with one of the two original instrumentals, Scuttle Button, an upbeat cut that prepares your audio palette tonally for the next cut, the title track, Couldn't Stand the Weather. Now, with its definitive, unforgettable riff and its strategic pauses and restarts led by Chris Layton during the deliberative intro, it underscores the microdynamic nuances and delicate shading that this LP is able to expose. During one of those pauses, Layton's subtle and hushed timekeeping is so readily apparent, so clearly outlined and defined in space, that you can almost tell what brand of shoe he's wearing. And at the other end of the dynamic spectrum, his snare snap near the beginning of this cut is sharply rendered in its attack, crisp and finely delineated in both its physical space and in its material attack and decay. The side closes with The Things That I Used to Do, a traditional slow blues, an Eddie Jones cover featuring a guest appearance by Stevie's older brother Jimmy, founder of the fabulous Thunderbirds, who takes great pleasure in attempting to prove that he isn't the only one who can lay down rapid guitar licks between Stevie's haunting vocal lines. One of the biggest highlights for me on the record is next, the only cut on side 2 of the first LP, Stevie's rendition of Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child Slight Return. Now, while this cover retains much of Jimmy's psychedelic vibe, it adds some fire and clearly showcases Stevie's exceptional technical skills on his instrument. Side 3 opens with Cold Shot, an accessible pseudo-pop rock cut built on a simple and catchy guitar riff that really works well in complement to and contrast with Stevie's smooth and reserved vocals. The side's last track is the LP's absolute pinnacle for me, Tin Pan Alley. Now, this cut starts with an extended, addictive intro, and the whole track, including the pensive lyrics, all the way to the end, serves to showcase his virtuosic guitar chops. But his robust, charismatic voice, all too often overlooked in favor of his obvious guitar mastery, is astonishingly emotive here, as well as it is on the last cut on the first side, The Things That I Used to Do. Now, while it has become almost a running gag that Tin Pan Alley gets overplayed every audio show there is, once you hear it, and from this release in particular, you'll understand why it is so often used to demonstrate a system's capabilities. Simply masterful playing and execution, extremely well recorded. Now, while side 4 is utterly worthwhile, it always takes me a while to adjust after what I consider to be the LP's zenith at the close of side 3. The much shorter Honeybee returns to upbeat blues with its seemingly puerile lyrics, combined with its 50s style rock stirred into their more distinct blues style. Really, and it gives Tommy Shannon the room to swagger with some great bass work. And closing the LP is Stang's Swang, a cool jazzy instrumental that features Stan Harrison, who's been hailed as a devilishly inventive tenor by Jazz Times, taking the spotlight on saxophone, and has guest Fran Cristana, drummer for the fabulous Thunderbirds, sitting in on the kit, with Stevie just lilting along, offering up some standard chords. Now, prior to its release, I held on to 3 different copies of this milestone record on LP. An original 1984 US Epic, the so-so 1995 UK Absolute Analog release, and the particularly good-sounding 2010 US Sundazed Music, LP 5304. Really good copy to have. And I also have the 2011 Mobile Fidelity SACD release, as well as the DSD 128 rip of that CD. But this Mobile Fidelity UltraDisc one-step release crushes them all, from its ultra-quiet surface, through its organic tonality, to its stark dynamism. Trust me, guys, even as pricey as it is, this is the copy of this record to have. Next up, my 2018 Giant Records double LP reissue, R124423, of Live at the Beacon by the New York Rock and Soul Revue. Guys, this giant recording was released only as CD in 1991 and was introduced to me by my then Bowers & Wilkins loudspeaker rep, Mark. You know who you are. Now, as well as being a manufacturer's representative, Mark was also a gifted musician, a very accomplished horn player, who was known to sit in with the Tower of Power horn section for live performances from time to time. But this superb 2018 reissued pressing contains the 15 tracks pressed into sides 1 through 3, while side 4 bears an etching of the front cover artwork. It's actually a pretty cool thing to see. Now, as you would rightly assume from the LP's title, it is a live album, documenting the performance of the New York Rock and Soul Revue, and was recorded on March 1st and 2nd, 1991, at the landmark Beacon Theater on the Upper West Side in New York City, a favorite venue of Steely Dan founder Donald Fagen. Opened in 1929, the Beacon Theater was originally built as a movie palace by Samuel Roxy Rothafel. Now, the Beacon decor was influenced by the Renaissance as well as ancient Roman, Greek, and Rococo styles. The auditorium's side walls have ornate arched doorways and murals, while the beautifully appointed arched ceiling has a rather ornate and distinctive chandelier. The proscenium arch has Greek columns and is flanked by large statues, while the orchestra pit still features a Wurlitzer organ. With just shy of 3,000 seats across 3 levels, while it is still operated by the Madison Square Garden Entertainment Group, it has been designated as a New York City interior landmark, listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is a revered performance space in New York City, and one of my favorite music performance videos, 1997's James Taylor Live, was also recorded there. But just who is the New York Rock and Soul Revue? Originally, they were the culmination of a musical project that evolved from a series of concerts and musical shows between 1989 and 1992 that were produced by Elizabeth Libby Titus, an American singer, songwriter, actor, and concert producer. However, Libby is better known for her large personality, and she has been described as glamorous and compelling, as well as being a formidable singer-scenester. Now, though Libby has released several solo albums and has been a session artist on many well-known records, she is also the subject of Carly Simon's song "Libby" from her 1976 Another Passenger album, is said to have been the motivation behind Pretty Libby, Dr. John's piano composition from his 1983 album The Brightest Smile in Town, and her friendship with singer-songwriter Wendy Waldman inspired the song Long Hot Summer Nights on Wendy's 1978 album Strange Company. And probably not coincidentally, the project was led by Donald Fagen and came to include a host of artists, including Phoebe Snow, Michael McDonald, Boz Scaggs, Eddie and David Brigatti, who started the famous New Jersey band The Rascals in the mid-'60s, Charles Brown, and even Walter Becker, the other founder of Steely Dan. Now, the project also features Jeff Young and the Youngsters, saxophonist Cornelius Bumpus, who had worked extensively with Steely Dan, the Doobie Brothers, and Boz Scaggs. But returning to Libby's large personality, shortly after these projects ended in 1993, she became Mrs. Donald Fagen, inspiring yet another song, with Fagen himself rhapsodizing about their marriage on The Great Pagoda of Fun from his 2006 solo release, Morph the Cat. But guys, this release is so much fun and provides for each of these luminary artists to soar and show off their individual vocal talents, as well as providing us with some sublimely enjoyable duets. Highlights for me include Knock on Wood featuring Michael McDonald and Phoebe Snow, Phoebe soloing on Shaky Ground and her knockout take on At Last, Michael's solo on Lonely Teardrops and Minute by Minute, Boz lighting up his version of Drowning in a Sea of Love, and Donald and Michael's sultry rendering of Pretzel Logic. But without question, my favorite cut is the wonderful cover of Chain Lightning from the 1975 Steely Dan release, Katie Lied. With its standard 12-bar blues approach, it features trumpeter Chris Anderson and tenor saxophonist Cornelius Bumpus. Now, I want you to pay attention to the horns here. There will be a quiz later. Starting at about a minute 20 seconds in, Chris Anderson is featured on trumpet, followed at about a minute 50 seconds by a Cornelius Bumpus sax interlude. Now, when he finishes, at about 2 minutes 40 seconds, I want you to listen closely to the Bob Gerland solo. Tell me what that instrument is that you hear. Is it a muted trumpet, muted cornet? When you hear the reveal, I'll bet you'll lose it, and it will bring a huge smile to your face. I know it did for me and for everyone else I've ever played this track for. As always, thanks for taking the time to drop by today. Don't forget to like and share links to your favorite episodes with your friends and on social media, and to post your comments and questions. Be sure to subscribe so you're notified about each new episode, and information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.